afternoon, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Today we discuss how Nick Foles, the Super Bowl MVP with the Eagles in 2018, has just recently finalized a deal with the Chicago Bears. With Foles coming to Chicago, Bears GM Ryan Pace described the signing as open competition between Foles and Mitch Trubisky, who went 8-8 under the helm last season. I'm your host, Luca Vitale, and joining me today is Ethan Polak. How are you doing, Ethan?
Great. I've been trying to pass as much time during this long break that we have and can't stand holding in all my opinions about sports, so I said I might as well join you.
All right, that sounds good. All right, here's the question for us to discuss today. Will Nick Foles replace Mitch Trubisky as the Bears starting quarterback opening day?
And I'm gonna start off by saying that Nick Foles will indeed take the job. Everyone, and if you're a Bears fan or anybody from the Chicago area, they are fed up with the number 2 overall pick, Mitchell Trubisky. He has been underperforming, and they've, as week after week and year after year at this point, Ryan Pace, their GM, has been telling them just wait until next year. He's got franchise potential, and every year he keeps coming up short and choking. I mean, he had a great year 2 years ago, but this year was his deciding year, to prove himself, and he didn't do it. The Bears didn't even make the playoffs this year, and Trubisky has just not been performing. I got the stats right here. I mean, Trubisky I'm looking at it from wrong stats, but Trubisky has not been performing correctly and as great. So the Bears really decided, because after all the struggles that he's been having, decided to go after a quarterback to give some competition. And who else better to get than the man that knocked him out of the playoffs last time they even made a chance to do it, Nick Foles, BDN as they call him. I can't say the name because we're trying to say not get demonetized. But he's all right. He's a great backup, and he's not – I don't think he's going to be the offer, he's not going to really help them. He's not going to be God, I can't think of the word right now. He's not going to be the answer. There we go. I can't speak right now. He's not going to be the answer for the Bears. I mean, he's a small acceptance. He's going to help in some way, but he's not going to really bring him anymore to the point where the Bears are really looking, which at this point is going to be a Super Bowl push. And Nick Foles and Trubisky are both quarterbacks who have been all right. They really haven't been able to take hold of a starting quarterback job, and to have both of them, and now the Bears paying both these players, I don't think they're going to be able to really do it. But if I had to choose one player to really take this coming into the 2020 season, I think Nick Foles has the upper hand.
Yeah, definitely. As a Bear viewer, I watch the Bears every single season, from the horrible Jay Cutler era to now Mitch Trubisky. So Mitch Trubisky, as every Bear fan knows, he was selected number 2 overall in the 2017 draft. Patrick Mahomes went number 10, and Deshaun Watson number 12. And not only did Ryan Pace select Mitch Trubisky at 2, he even traded up to get Mitch Trubisky. So let's answer the question. The answer, I think, is yes. I think Nick Foles will replace Mitch Trubisky at the opening day start. So as we know, Nick Foles became a big name in 2017 with the Eagles. He was Carson Wentz's backup in Philadelphia when Wentz went 11-2 before tearing his ACL. And remember, he was a legit MVP candidate that season. And he finished 13-3. He led the Eagles to their first Super Bowl title over the Patriots, 41-33. And Nick Foles, he performed exceptionally well in that game, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. You remember all the play, the Philly special, right?
Yep.
And he won Super Bowl MVP that year. In those 7 games that he played in the 2017 season and playoffs, completed about 67 of his passes. So that's really respectable right there. And not only 2017 he did it with the Eagles, he did it again in 2018. He resurrected their season after Wentz got hurt again. And during that time, the Eagles were 5-6, so they weren't exactly playoff contenders. But Nick Foles got the Eagles to the wild card when they went 9-7. He went 4-1 in Wentz's absence, completed about 72% of his passes. And that's when, you know it, Nick Foles and the Eagles came to town, underdogs for sure, and they beat the Bears at Soldier Field. Now, let me tell you this. Many Bears fans will blame Cody Parkey for missing that field goal, about 43 yards. I do not blame Cody Parkey as much as I want to for losing the entire thing and not advancing to play the New Orleans Saints. I blame Mitch Trubisky. The reason for that is because what did he do during that game? What did he do? He passed for 303 yards, but the number does not say everything what happened in that game. It was very pedestrian in that game. In fact, I don't really think he performed that well because, they only scored 15 points on a defense that was ranked 15th that year. So I don't think that was even Cody Parkey's fault within the whole game, but Mitch Trubisky needs to perform better. So in 2018, when he played his first full season, he completed 67% of his passes for 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for a 95 QBR. But last year, we really saw some slippage. In Trubisky, 63% of his passes he completed, 3,100 yards, 17 touchdowns with 10 interceptions with only an 83 QBR, 28th in the whole entire league. So you really need to take into consideration that Mitch Trubisky is not the long-term answer for this franchise. He needs to go. Ryan Pace needs to answer all the Bears. He needs to admit fault for doing such things like this. And honestly, I think Nick Foles has something to prove as well, but at the end of the day, he has more pros and cons. Now, Ethan, I'm going to let you talk because I have a couple of pros and cons I compare them to, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, so pros and cons. I mean, Nick Foles is very clutch. Nick Foles he was able to step into a situation which he wasn't normally ready for. He had to step into the Eagles situation where they lost Carson Wentz and everyone thought their season was over. Came out of nowhere, was able to fix their entire season. But the only problem is, if you don't notice, Nick Foles, this is the con, he can't play very well other than in Philadelphia. If you look at his stats everywhere else, he played for the Rams. He played for the Cardinals. I don't think it was the Cardinals. He played in a bunch of different teams.
He played for Kansas City too.
And he played for Kansas City. And he was after he had that his first great season when he first got drafted, that's when he's got traded all over the place. He wasn't able to succeed anywhere else but in Philadelphia. And that brings up some concerns about will he be able to succeed in Chicago? And then that brings back us to the other thing is that the Bears run a similar offense and game plan to the Philadelphia Eagles. Many of the staff is on the Bears is from that Philadelphia game plan and system that they run. So it should be easier for Nick Foles to mold himself right back into this Chicago Bears offense. And that's why there's pros and cons. I think Foles has that, but Trubisky, there's still pros to him is that he's young. He still has potential. Maybe slower than others. He definitely still has potential, though, as fixing his stuff. And I know it's shown that he's been fixing his thing. The problem is he needs to work on his deep ball. He has been struggling. And when you have the smaller wide receivers, that's the main idea for them. They're small, speedy. You just launch it to them, and they'll be able to catch right into it. And Trubisky has been way too afraid to throw those long bombs. And so if he's going to look to improve there, he has to build up his confidence. If they look to make some sort of improvement for Trubisky to even have a chance to make it as the starting quarterback anytime in the 2020 season.
Yeah, definitely a lot on those points. I can agree with a lot of those points for sure. Outside of Philadelphia, he has struggled when he went to the Chiefs when he was with the Rams at a point. That's true when they traded him away for Sam Bradford, which was an awful trade.
Yeah.
But last offseason when he was traded to Jacksonville, that was a 4-year deal for $88 million and then with $50.125 million guaranteed in that. Personally, I didn't think he should have gotten that deal. Yeah, he won the Super Bowl and all, but for Jacksonville. And I knew when he signed that deal, I'm I don't think he's going to have success because he did not have the weapons available to him on offense as he did in Philly. In Jacksonville, he had DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook. Who else on that team is a weapon?
A little bit of Leonard Fournette, but
that's it, right?
That's the running back they had to use in the passing game because they really had nobody else.
Right. So, and then and when he got injured, obviously in that week 1, he went down with a broken collarbone. Gardner Minshew came in and looks like he was resurrecting the season or something. And I'm like, you happen to win a couple of games. And he got benched for that. And I'm like, okay. So I was wondering, what are the Jaguars going to do? And sure enough, they trade away their $80 million investment and keep the cheaper option.
Yeah, I mean, with Foles, and it's smart for the Bears to take this deal because the Jaguars they are taking all the dead money. If you don't know, I mean, it's an $80 million deal. The
Right.
Bears are still only paying him, I believe. He's on a 3-year. I have it.
3 years, 24 million, 21 million guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great idea for the Bears to invest in him, and it's a smart deal. I think it's a better idea for Nick Foles to even get out of Jacksonville because he obviously wasn't succeeding there, and it doesn't look like that situation changing anytime soon. And no offense to any of the people in Jacksonville, but that's just a dumpster fire over there. They're going to be in that tanking for a little bit longer as they keep losing more and more defensive pieces. They only have one defensive piece or part that was from that 2018 amazing season, and that's Ngakwe is his name, and he's about to get traded. He wants out of Jacksonville, and after that would end the entire defensive or the Saxonville era, so to speak, in Jacksonville, and that'll start a new era. And who knows where Jacksonville's going? That's why it's a great idea for Foles to leave there and to get into a better offense where he has actually a chance to become the starting quarterback once again. But this time he has to just prove himself worthy that after this collarbone injury, will he still be the same as he was? Will he be Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles, or will he be regular season Nick Foles kind of thing?
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points there, especially with, is he going to be regular season Nick Foles? And that's the thing that gets me, is because when he was in Philadelphia, he never played a full season. So there are question marks to be answered. But like you said, with him and Mitch Trubisky, Foles has stepped in and proved that he can get the job done. You said that, and I definitely agree with that. Also, why I feel like this trade was coming is you see the coaching staff they have. Bill Lazar, John DeFilippo, and then Nagy. I mean, he played under Bill Lazar. John DeFilippo was in Philly, and then he played for Nagy in Kansas City. I mean, I'm like, you training for Foles?
It's just calling for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like they reorganized their coaching staff with him in mind. That's what I felt it was happening. So, and then you look at Trubisky, right? 2018, I told you the stats. They won 12-4 that season. Everyone's like, they're going to win the Super Bowl. Okay, fine. The thing is, though, no one realizes how much the defense was aiding Trubisky for the margin of error he could make. So it was ridiculous. I mean, you still look at their defense, it's still good, but the thing is, clock's ticking, and they got to figure it out, and they got Nick Foles, and hopefully he can aid them with an exceptional offense, unlike Trubisky, who would be getting sacked constantly, throwing passes left, right, over, under. I mean, that's the problem with him. Last season especially, I was watching many of those games. It was third and out constantly. And I remember specifically against the Eagles last year when they played in Philadelphia, I think they accumulated less than 90 yards in the first half. Total scrimmage yards.
So you guys had offensive struggles the entire year, that entire season. Like
right.
Every game was so hard because it would be low scoring games because the defense would keep it a low scoring game, allowing, and most of those wins were just because the Bears were able to score 20 points or 28 points. And in this modern day offense where it's high scoring with all like teams like the Chiefs, the Rams, the 49ers this year, they're all high scoring offenses, and like their defenses are mild. Like who could you name on the Chiefs defense last year? There is not many people you can name, but they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean you could name a few people, but not many of them because they were a bunch of no names, but they were able to perform and able to hold some of these high powered defenses. And that's why, yes, defense sometimes wins championships, but nowadays it's looking like that motto might change.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So earlier on, you talked about Foles being a deep thrower. Yes. I want to know, as a Bear fan who's been watching the Bears since 2017, I don't know how many times I have seen Mitch Trubisky overthrow, underthrow passes. I've seen it so many times. Too many times. Not only does he have issues getting a throw, not overthrowing or underthrowing, but he has trouble with those out passes too, especially to the left side of the field. especially to Allen Robinson. I cannot tell you how many times that pass is not being completed. Also, Foles, he likes to play the run play option, the RPO. Trubisky has struggled with that Nagy system. So Foles has a pro right there. He can do the RPO. Trubisky cannot. Foles can make decisions quickly because he can look at the defense and he's processing what's happening and he makes the play. Trubisky cannot do that. I don't think he can read a cover two defense. I personally think he cannot. Also, we know what Foles did in that game against Chicago in 2018. He can play well under pressure-packed situations. That Bears defense in 2018 was monstrous. So the bottom line is I expect Foles to win the job. The situation is perfectly set for him to succeed, and he knows the system and the coaches. And honestly, all the things Trubisky has in his favor right now is he's a mobile quarterback. I don't know what else is exactly pro for him, so I would not be surprised either if Trubisky becomes a day draft trade asset either.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And if you don't know, they've been adding more assets to this Bears offense as they've known and they've seen that they've been struggling. They added Jimmy Graham. But the problem with all this is that the Bears have not addressed the offensive line. And even with a good quarterback, that's like shown problems. You could have an amazing quarterback, but the offensive line is always key to a good offense. And that means that there could be some struggles. There could be some switches in teams because the offensive line is old. They can't block anything. No offense, but like they've been definitely struggling. And they're only
right.
I mean, the guys even lost some of the assets. Like I think it was Jake Long, I think was his name.
Kyle
Long, the other brother, but he was one of the big veteran assets in that entire Bears offensive line. They lost him. Who are the Bears signing to fix them? I mean, they signed Jimmy Graham, who's not really a blocking tight end. He's there for the offense. But if you guys are going to be looking to protect your quarterbacks to even keep them healthy, because, Foles, has been pretty injury prone and Trubisky doesn't make good decisions, what's going to happen? I mean, if Foles could get injured once again because the offensive line can't block him, guess what? You're stuck with Trubisky again. And that's why I would think that the Bears really should address that offensive line if they look to even have a quarterback competition in the beginning or like the first place.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points there for sure. The front line, in my opinion, is not very good. I mean, it could be the point, maybe Mitch Trubisky was rushed a lot last year. I couldn't tell you that. But yeah, they need to upgrade that line. And we know Nick Foles is not a mobile target. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's a stationary target. He reminds me of Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady. He is a statue right there. And if he gets sacked, he's going to get sacked or he's throwing it out of bounds. He cannot run. So definitely that is a good point right there. So if I had to predict right now what the Bears will go next season, I'm going to say 10-6.
And with this new CBA, do you see it making the playoffs? Because if you don't know, there's the new rules that adds one team from each division that actually gets to make the playoffs. So the teams that are just on the brink of making it have a chance to make it, just like the Bears have been. I mean, last year they had a chance to make it. They were just outside about making it in the playoff hunt. This year, do you see them making the playoffs?
I wish you to bring up the CBA because we're going to make an episode on that. But yes, I really do. I see them making the playoffs this year. Honestly, division-wise, we all know Detroit's going to suck. The Packers, I can see them being in the hunt. The Vikings, I can see the Vikings and the Bears winning the NFC North. So it's going to be close, in my opinion, between the Bears and the Vikings.
All right. And then one more bonus question I have to ask is, since you are a Bears fan, would you be happy with the Bears drafting a quarterback this year? Because, you have competition between those quarterbacks. Why not get another young gun in there to add a little bit more spice into that offense, since they did get rid of Daniel?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind drafting another quarterback. I don't have a quarterback in mind because all the very good ones like Joe Burrow, Tua's up there. I don't think we have a chance to get a quarterback like that. But if Pace finds something that maybe is exceptional, sure, why not?
That was my little bonus question, since we are talking about the Bears quarterback situation, because who knows at this point, the Bears could be looking at somebody else. And they don't have any draft picks in the first round, do they, right?
No.
Thank you, Khalil Mack.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching this episode with Ethan and I discussing about Nick Foles and the Bears, and have a good day.
Yep.